Hey folks, we're going to have another go at that. So welcome to episode 15 of FinTech Insider on Air. If you didn't catch last week's episode, it was super good. I'd really recommend you go and check it out. If you run over to the 11FS YouTube channel, or if you hit up 11FS over on Twitter, you can pick up all of those background episodes that we've had. Like 14 episodes of some really good things kind of coming in, so go check those out. On the left of me, I have Mr. Simon Taylor. If you haven't heard this man before, how's it going, Simon?
It's going really well. How are you, sir?
Super good. I feel my sort of brain capacity with all the fluey funniness was going on last week is just about up to good, which is getting me into that sort of capacity. So I'm trying to make up for all the stuff that I should have done on the bank holiday Monday and Friday, and all of the stuff that I should have done when I was off sick last week, which is making this week rather intense.
Pretty condensed. That's why you got the caffeine in the 11FS mug.
I mean, yeah, always living that brand. I have to say. This week we're joined by another Simon. So hey, Simon, how are you doing?
Oh, very good, thanks.
Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about where you're from and what you do? I mean, the funky swag that's on the desk right now is probably giving people a little bit of a
Chip
hit.
Champion socks there. I'm Simon. You can call me Simon Chip. Not actually my surname, but probably makes it easier. And I'm the CEO and founder of Chip. Chip is an automatic saving app. And simply put, we enable people to make things happen with their money.
Mm-hmm. Well, this week we're going to be talking about savings, which is lucky. So it's almost like we planned
It's
that,
coincidence I'm here.
I know. It's just he was just in the office and we thought savings is a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
But there's some interesting stats about savings that are happening in the UK market right now, and some of them are reasonably alarming. So, only 21% of the UK population have any savings at all, which is reasonably terrifying given the state of the economy and where we're sort of heading. This is quite a terrifying thing. If you look further abroad than just the UK, only 1/3 of Americans, so 31%, actually have $5,000 or less saved for retirement. Now that is terrifying in terms of kind of where they're going. So 53% of 22 to 29-year-olds have nothing in their savings accounts or individual savings accounts at all. And back in November 2018, so UK borrowers paid a total of 140 million per day in interest. This is reasonably scary.
We've got a problem.
I feel like this is a kind of a thing we can all see coming. The statistics are kind of showing that there's a real problem.
Yeah.
But why is it so hard to get people to save money?
I think for me, it's pretty simple. Look how easy it is to spend money, right? Look at the tools that you have to spend money.
The end. Come back next week, folks.
Exactly. And look at all the innovation in that space. Look at the things all the neobanks are doing to enable you to categorize your spending and analyze it, and NFC, touch and pay, and Apple Pay, and all the rest of it. Yet it's quite hard to actually save. And I think what Chip's done and why we've been so successful is that we've made it as easy to save your money as it is to spend. And kind of doing that for people in an automated way, doing it in a way that's as seamless as just using Apple Pay, has really worked.
We've got a huge social problem coming though, surely, if people aren't saving, if people aren't getting on front of that. And actually, the incentives in the industry, have they been broken for a while? If I'm a large bank, the way I made my customer base profitable, I had some savers who basically gave me the ability to lend to everybody else, which is where I made my money.
Sure, now these guys just they get institutional money from the markets. They don't need the customers' deposits.
And so, has that changed? Has the dynamic in the market fundamentally changed in the interests of customers?
No, I think to be honest, the interest rate, the interest rates being where they are, obviously creates a disincentive for people to save. But I think it's about more than that. I think it's about how, as I said before, it's how easy it is to actually spend your money, and not having the tools or the ability to put that money away.
I know that's always kind of put as the argument in the US why people are not very good at saving, because actually they're very good at spending and all the incentives are there for consumerism and the immediacy of I want that thing now, or sort of the keeping up with the Joneses. But in the UK we've always been a little bit more sort of prudent with finances to a certain degree. But has that sort of the spend now by actually pay for this off down the line type vibe, is that really sort of where we're at?
Sure. Well, we've seen, so we've got about just over 100,000 savers with us, and the average age is about 31, 32 years old. So I don't want to sort of use that horrible term millennials and kind of bracket people like that, but people within that age demographic, I think, are under great pressure with the cost of living, of living and working in a city, and all those things that they have to spend their money on, that basically by the time it gets to the end of the month, they just don't have that. They don't have the excess amount there. And the suggestion, what we've seen, it's kind of weird when you look at it, but the suggestion to somebody that you could afford to save £200 from your paycheck and put that away is obscene. Oh, I can't do that. I don't have £200 spare just to put away at the beginning of the month. But yet, when somebody connects their account to Chip and we're analysing their transactions throughout the month, we're seeing how they're spending, and we're sort of taking small amounts from them every couple of days and putting it away. It gets to the end of the month, they've had the same month that they would have had anyway. They've kind of lived the same life. It hasn't impacted their day-to-day spending, and they're like, oh my, wow, I've got £200 in saving. I never believed I could do that. So I think it's about the pressures around spending, and then it's about creating behavioural solutions that enable that.
And how, I guess with your particular customer base, how active in that are they? Explain to us a little bit more about how the product works. Is this more passive? So is this the little and often? It's like good diet, right? Little and often is the way to do these things, rather than starving yourself for 3 days to kind of get to your calorie.
Exactly. It is quite passive in that our savers don't actually need to do anything, so they just connect their account to Chip. Every couple of days, it makes a calculation based on what you've spent by that point in the month, compared to what you normally spend by that point in the month. And where there's excess, it will literally just calculate a save and say, hey, David, you can afford to save 18 quid. Send you a little notification, and at 4 o'clock that day, it will actually move the 18 quid into your Chip savings account. If you can stop it going ahead. You say, no, actually, I'm going out tonight, or I'm doing something later. I'm going to go and buy something, so I don't want to save that. So it is quite passive if you just let it happen in the background, but it kind of gives we have to give the customers the ability to control it as well.
Yeah. There's a really interesting psychology element and a behavioural element there about the sort of small, little and often savings rather than the big scary one.
100%.
It used to be sort of, it's time to think about your savings now. Let's sit down and plan for 30 years, and immediately everybody wants to run out of the room because they're like, whoa, I can barely make it to the end of the month, and you want me to think about 30 years from now.
Correct.
So is there... talk to me about the journey of when you spoke to customers when you were building the product. How do you sort of bridge today and tomorrow, and how do you make that sort of psychological connection in terms of the interface and the experience?
Sure. Well, I mean, first of all, I think it's fair to say where the product is now is quite different to where it started about 2 years back, and we've got a great community of users. A lot of them are investors. We've crowdfunded a couple of times as well. Investors in the company, and
they've used their savings to invest in. The circle of that is beautiful, isn't it? I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean, we've got over 2 rounds, 9,000 individual investors who are Chip savers, Chip customers, and have actually bought equity in the company, which is
that's great,
fantastic. And we've heard some great stories, but anecdotally, for a lot of them, this is like their first investment. And I think they're really pleased to be part of the journey with us, and they. Our community isn't brilliant to the Chip Champion socks I have here on the table. We've got a community of Chip Champions and Chipmunks, and they, we listen to them, and we basically ask them, what functionality do you want? How can we enable you to save more? And how do we kind of bridge that gap, right? As Simon said, and what we've seen is that's a lot to do with goals and creating focus and creating buckets and compartmentalizing, and we've launch features now where users can create goals inside the app. They can allocate a portion of their savings and so on. And actually what we've seen is that a lot of the saving activity is not necessarily as long-term as you might have thought of savings traditionally. So it's not like, okay, I need to build a pension pot, I need to put away £1,000 a year. I need to start saving now for Christmas. Yeah. Or I have got, a holiday coming up in the summer, and I need to save 500 quid for that. Traditionally, that's not saving, that's spending. But we fundamentally disagree with that. It's about enabling people to focus their spending, or focus their money on the things that actually matter to them, right? Rather than, if they hadn't saved for that, they may have gone into debt, or they may have had to use credit cards.
And how much of it is building that muscle memory and confidence as well? Because if I've not been a saver historically, by starting at something and building my compass.
So many of our customers come along and go, listen, I've never been able to save. Just look on Twitter. Go and check out Get Chip on Twitter. You'll see so many people saying things like, I've never been able to save. I always end up in credit card debt after Christmas in January, and I've connected to Chip. 3 months later, I can't believe it. I've got 300 quid in there. I've got £1,000 in there. And it's different amounts of different people, but what you see sort of consistently across the board is that people are shocked or impressed with themselves and what they've been able to achieve in that time. So if you're not already saving with Chip, I suggest you do it. Go to the App Store or Google Play, download it, and start saving.
Well, it's an interesting one, isn't it? You're sort of moving money out of the line of fire, right?
Yeah.
You know, if they move them out of that current account into a savings account to be able to not see it, and if you don't see it, you don't spend it. It's like, to your point, it's the out of sight, out of mind piece. How are you sort of looking at the sort of inertia? Because there's sort of positive and negative friction in these models sometimes, isn't there? I guess putting it into savings is one thing, keeping it in savings is another thing for people to kind of. So how are you looking at, I guess, that next journey in the evolution of the product?
Do you know what? There is a bit of friction around that, and we see large volumes, tens of millions of pounds a month being saved, but also quite high volumes of money being withdrawn as well. And at first, this is what I said, it's evolved, because at first we looked at that negatively and we're sort of going, how do we get people to leave their money there and to keep it sticky and all the rest of it? And actually, we've kind of looking at it from the other way now and saying, well, that's not necessarily a negative thing. Yeah. That is money that wasn't wasted or wasn't spent on something which didn't matter, and that's money that's now being used on something that's meaningful to the person, right?
That would have been credit card debt historically, but now isn't.
Could have been credit card debt. It could have been, I don't know. It could have meant that they missed out on a certain experience that they're now able to have. It's about, our slogan, our mission is just making it happen, right? So it's about enabling people to take their money and use that to make things happen.
Yeah. Which is an interesting psychology, make it happen, because again, it comes back into this instant gratification, instant winning.
It doesn't need to be instant.
Well, sort of near term. Like, my future self is another person, whereas actually, like, I'm me now. So that old person can deal with the financial woes, but me now wants a holiday. Is there a bit of that whereby, I think to David's point, how many of the people that then take the money out keep using Chip and then building habits? Have you seen enough to...
It's very cyclical. I mean, our churn, the number of users that delete is very low, and we see... Literally, we see about 80% of our users kind of save up, spend that on something, save up, spend that on something. It might not be all the way back down to zero, but it's definitely cyclical like that. The vast majority, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but the vast majority of the goals that people create are for near-term things. It's holiday, it's Christmas, it's a paddle board, it's a new bike, it's getting out of my overdraft debt, it's paying off the credit card. And we really don't think that that's necessarily a bad thing. Yeah. It's not. We'd like to encourage, I think, more of our savers to create goals that are a bit longer term, and that's something that, from the feedback we've had, that we're trying to create features around. Maybe you guys could, maybe 11 FS can help us and do that bit. But it's basically that we'd like to see people save up a little bit longer term for later in life, for the other me. But at the same time, if we can give them the tools to actually have better experiences in the near term, why shouldn't saving be about that, right?
Yeah, well, you've earned their trust at that point. They value the relationship, that you've been able to give them experience that they wouldn't have otherwise had. So hopefully there's something you can build from and launch from.
Well, it's ultimately making people feel like they're in control of this, right? However much money people actually save and put away, if at that point they're in control of those savings, they're in control of their finances, and actually they're just being a little bit more active in actually how those things are happening, this is all good stuff, right? The getting to people to the point where they're in control is ultimately the game of this.
Correct. The worst thing is basically having, and this is ultimately like what Monzo and all the digital banks are about. The worst thing, right, is having a pool of money in your current account and just running around, beep, 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 spending it everywhere, not having any idea where it's gone, and you're losing control.
Sure.
Right?
And only realising that at the end of the month, right?
Exactly. Not even the end of the month, realising that 12 days before the end of the month and going, don't have any money.
No food for 12 days.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to be a problem.
Tins of beans for the rest of the week.
So where are you guys at now? Like, been going through a journey over the last couple of years, but what's been on the, I guess, what's happened recently and what's on the horizon?
So just in December we raised £4 million crowdfunding. The vast majority of that, as I said, came from some investors, some sort of bigger investors as well, but the vast majority from our customers. And we've got these two sort of really vibrant communities of chip champions and chipmunks, and we basically just work with them to build out the features that they want and try and improve the product, try and grow the user base. We've just gone past 100 million pounds processed and 100,000 accounts.
Amazing.
Talk to me about that journey of creating that community from the early days, because I think that's something that you see fintech do really, really well.
Yeah.
What did you do at the start, and what did that journey look like to grow that community? Because I think there's a lot of lessons people can take from that when building their products.
Being really honest and open with the customers and just saying, hey, we are, I know to you, like we're sort of a bank that you're saving with, but actually, we're a group of guys, we've created an app, we want to build the best possible features we can for you, tell us, help us, advise us, which design, which screenshot, do you prefer, what's better, and just, I guess it kind of spiraled from there, that's how you grow word of mouth, because you want to create reasons for people to be proud about using the product.
Yeah.
So when they're sitting around the dining table, they're in the pub or they're at a social event, they're actually saying, not only check out this app, I'm using it, it's helped me save a few £100, and actually I'm a chip champion as well, and I've got a great pair of socks, and
So it's about those core advocates initially.
Well, we're definitely like the stuff that I've seen on social. Like you guys have got a really great following. You've got a bunch of people who really get behind the product. You've got a bunch of people who are using it. These are the guys who are investing in the product as well. So it kind of feels like on the whole, nailing community, you've done a pretty damn good job. So where do you want to get to? What are you saving up for? Where are you going with this business?
Absolutely. So look, we see the potential to enable, just in the UK alone, millions of people to be able to save up automatically and then focus their spending on the things that actually matter to them. And I think as broad as we can make those options on the other side, the better it is. So we're introducing some flexible credit and like overdraft refinance tools that enables people to kill off their overdrafts, kill off credit card debt. We're introducing the ability to actually pay for other financial services with the money that you've collected in chip.
Get debt free as a goal.
Yeah, well, that's come again from our community, that we've seen that the number of goals that people have created, to kill my overdraft, get out of debt. So we're actually, don't know how much we can talk about it at the moment, because there's some regulatory restrictions on what I can and can't say.
The regulator's not watching.
Well, my chief compliance officer probably is.
That's scary.
Yeah, exactly. But basically, the idea of the product is that the idea of that feature is that it enables somebody to say, okay, I want to kill my overdraft. I'm £2,000 overdrawn always at the end of every month. The bank are charging me 40%, 45% APR on that. And I'm connected to Chip. Chip would say, okay, move that overdraft balance into Chip. So let's say, now you've got £2,000 essentially that you owe Chip. Your overdraft balance is clear in your current account. You can now get paid and you can live sort of a normal life in positive balance in your current account. But then you can allocate a portion of your Chip savings. So let's say 50% of everything that I save with Chip, I'm going to allocate towards paying down that overdraft debt. And in the process, Chip are going to offer you the lowest possible APR. So we expect, theoretically, if we were offering this product, we expect to be able to reduce people's APR by at least 50%.
And that's fascinating. So you can start to get into consolidation. You can look, it's lending, right? It's consolidation and
it's enabling people to use their savings, use the money they're saving to pay down debt first.
Yeah.
Right. And if it's always
doing
the conventional advice. Yeah. At a better APR. So they're saving cost on the on the APR terms, but they're also paying it down quicker, which by compound effect saves them money.
Fantastic.
Wow.
Sounds great. So, how can people get involved?
All you have to do is go to the App Store or Google Play, search for Chip, literally Chip, download the app, connect your bank, and start saving. It's pretty pretty simple stuff.
And I kind of feel like we should probably give away one of these funky pair of
So
socks.
we've got here Chip Champion socks, right? And I've got a few more pairs in the office, so don't worry, you can keep these.
Okay, cool, great.
You can keep these.
That was my worry.
Yeah,
I really do want one pair of these socks.
Yeah. I tell you what. So should we say the first 5 people to start saving with Chip right now, to install Chip right now, and connect their account, and then tweet Chip and FinTech Insider, you can have a pair of Chip Champion socks.
Sounds good.
Yeah,
wanna
you
see
can
evidence,
join
Pete?
the Chip Champions.
Yeah. So
First 5.
Screenshot, give us evidence, hit us up on Twitter between the two companies, and we'll send those socks out to you. So, well, thanks very much for coming in, Simon.
Thanks for
Really
having me.
appreciate you taking the time. Really, really interesting product. Well, we look forward to seeing how this kind of develops because, you know, like you say, Simon, like building out that community around this, shaping it with people, you know, doing things that actually people want. You know, it all sounds like really obvious stuff when you say it out loud, but this is the stuff that really big organizations are just
Yeah, I
doing
think
in this space.
they completely miss it, and the interesting thing is it's not it's not that complicated. You know, it's pretty. You just have to be honest with your customers. Go listen. What features do you want?
Yeah.
How do you want us to build this for you?
I know.
Sounds so obvious.
Yeah, it
when
does
you
sound
say
so
it.
obvious, but yeah, you know, instead they'll go to big marketing agencies and
And a
spend a load of
research
money
house.
on I don't know.
Copy and Monzo.
Yeah, you said it.
All right. On that note, Simon, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having
what
me.
you're doing with Chip. Go over to, did you say www.chip.com?
No, so it's getchip.uk, but easier still, just go to the App Store, Google Play, and install Chip.
Sounds good.
Download Chip.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us this week. We'll be back with you this time again next Wednesday. If you want to hit up a few things that 11FS have actually been doing, so there's a really good report that we've put out all about PFM and jobs to be done around that particularly. So if you go over to a very, very complicated link here, so maybe if we just tweet the link in the next 20 seconds, because I'm definitely going to read this fucking thing, then go over and find that. So go over to the 11FS stream right now. We'll tweet out that report. It's free. It's awesome. Go check it out. If you like what you've seen this week from our beautiful, beautiful faces, but you're like, maybe I just want to like listen to these guys next time, head over to iTunes and hit up FinTech Insider, Blockchain Insider, or InsurTech Insider, depending on what your poison actually is. And if you really don't want to see our faces anymore, then I understand. That's absolutely fine. I'm hideous after this tan that I got over the Easter holidays. I'd say it's a natural tan, not a fake tan, just before I start getting abuse from Bob on Twitter.
It's the Italian heritage.
It is, yeah, it's what it is. Thanks for joining us. If you've got any questions, hit us over on david@11fs.com and we'll figure out what we do for next week's show. Thanks very much. Bye.
Stay classy, San Diego.
Nice. I didn't mention